Today on Cook's Country, Bridget and Julia cook up a Southern specialty, Tennessee pulled turkey sandwiches. Adam reviews paper towels. And Bryan makes Bridget a regional favorite, Eastern North Carolina fish stew. That's all right here on Cook's Country.
Tennessee barbecue is famous for its ribs and pulled pork, but the history of barbecue in the volunteer state is much more diverse.
Before the Civil War, barbecues in neighboring Virginia were grand parties hosted by society's elite, like James Madison and George Washington.
But Tennessee barbecues were planned with a more pioneering attitude. Members of the community pitched in and got their hands dirty, even clearing land for the event.
Folks in the frontier state of Tennessee brought whatever food they had on hand for the common good, including valuable farm animals like oxen and goat, and wild game like venison and turkey.
Now, speaking of barbecued turkey, we went down to Tennessee for the Taste of Country USA Festival and ate a sandwich that knocked our boots off.
And that's what we're going to show you how to make today. Pulled turkey sandwiches, Tennessee style. So today we're making Tennessee pulled turkey sandwiches. But the question is, do you need to cook a whole bird or can you just start with parts?
No need to try to wrangle a whole turkey onto the grill.
That's
for this.
good.
We're using parts, and actually when we found some in recipes and online, they start with breast meat. Here's our mission: how to make turkey breast on the grill, smoked, so it's still nice, moist, and juicy.
That's a hurdle.
It is a hurdle. Well, we're gonna start off talking about the turkey. Now, these are 2 split turkey breasts. They're obviously boneless and skinless, so that's more points against us, keeping these moist. But it's gonna be a lot easier to deal with these boneless, skinless breasts. So each of these weighs about 2 pounds, maybe 1 3/4 to 2 pounds each. Now, all I need to do at this point, I'm gonna pat them dry. These are going to go onto plastic wrap. Each of these, they're so big, they deserve their own piece of plastic. Now, we want to keep the meat juicy, and as you know, with lean meat, it's always a good idea to add salt in some way. Sometimes we brine, soak it in salt water. Sometimes we just salt all over the meat and let time do its work. That's what we're doing today. So this is a tablespoon of kosher salt. Second side here. It's going to work its way into the meat and season it all throughout. I'm going to wrap these tightly.
I'll do one. I'll follow your lead.
There we go. Right onto a sheet pan. This has to go into the fridge a minimum of 8 hours up to overnight. Give that salt plenty of time to do its job. So if you wouldn't mind, you've got clean hands, go into the fridge, putting this in. I'm going to go wash my hands.
You got it.
Now, before we get the turkey on the grill, we have to set up the grill. We're using charcoal here, really good smoke. We're gonna add a little bit of wood a little bit later. Now, this is a chimney at 3/4 full of charcoal briquettes. That's about 4.5 quarts of charcoal briquettes. Went ahead and lit it. And now you can see that the top's got a nice layer of fine ash. Now, that only took about 15 minutes for it to get to this point. We're gonna dump these coals on 1/2 of the grill.
Half grill fire.
That's right. So I'm gonna spread these out into an even layer. Now, we have a hot side and a cold side too, and that is pretty standard anytime that you're smoking meat. Speaking of smoke, we have 2 cups of wood chips. These are hickory. Pretty much whatever wood that you have that you like to flavor the meat, that's gonna work here. Mesquite can be a little bit iffy, but anything like hickory, oak, that's perfect. So this is 2 cups of wood chips, and went ahead and we soaked them for about 15 minutes. Of course, they're drained because they're not in water. So we're gonna make a foil packet. So I'll go ahead and dump these right in the middle. Now, this is one of those times that we're actually going to tell you how big to make the foil packet. And I have to say, when I started hearing about specific sizes for foil packets with chips in them, I thought, have we gone over the edge? We have jumped the shark.
Yeah, right?
But we have not jumped the shark, because if you make the packet too small, then the actual pile of wood chips is too deep, and the wood chips in the middle will not give off any smoke. But if you make it too thin, they'll burn too quickly.
Burn city.
Exactly. So we're going to make this about 8 by 4.5 inches. All right, and I like to start with just one side over, and you want to be careful not to poke through the foil. All right, and side over. And now I'm going to take a paring knife and just make 2 evenly spaced slits. Now, they're about 2 inches long, and that's going to allow the right amount of smoke to come out. So these are going to go right onto the coals. And now, grate goes right on the top. Now, I am going to clean this in just a moment, but we want to let this grill grate heat up because it's going to release some of that schmutz that's on there. So, lid goes on, and the vent is open, so it's going to keep the coals nice and hot. We're going to let that grate heat up about 5 minutes.
Sounds good.
All right, 5 minutes was all we needed, and now the grill grate is hot, and we're starting to get a little bit of smoke off of that packet. And that's all we need at this point because it's going to continue to smoke. So now I'm going to take a grill scraper and really scrape off all of that junk that's on there. After we scrape it, we always like to clean it. Little water paper towels, just dip it in some vegetable oil. All right, so let's move on down to that turkey. Now, before we put them on, we want to season them. Of course, they were already seasoned with salt. Now we're going to add pepper, 2 kinds. I've got a mixture of black pepper here, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, and a little bit of cayenne, a ½ teaspoon.
Ooh.
We're not going too crazy with barbecue spices because turkey is so lean and mild flavored. We really want some of that flavor to come through. We also want the smoke to kind of be the front and center flavor.
So just a little kick.
Just a little kick. So I'm going to sprinkle this mixture on both sides. It's going to have a little bit of heat from the 2 kinds of pepper, but it's not going to be overwhelming. Now these are going to go on the cooler side of the grill, not directly over the packet or the coals. And you see this area of the breast here, it's much thicker. So we're going to position these thicker ends towards the fire, and that way the thinner ends won't dry out.
Makes sense.
All right, lid goes on. There we go. And we've got the vent open and it's placed over the turkey. So that any smoke that's in there is going to draw it through the meat and out through the top. Now we're not going to cook it all the way through at this point. We're going to leave it in there between 30, 40 minutes. But what we're looking for is the internal temperature to reach 120 degrees.
All right.
Let's check on that turkey. Now, turkey registers 120 degrees inside. It is not done at this point.
I'll say.
But we are done with the smoke. So we're going to take these and put them into a disposable pan. There we go. Doesn't matter if they're in one layer. You know, one of the problems with turkey,
It's dry.
you're right, it's dry and it's very tender, which is great, but it's also very lean. So we're going to fix that with some butter.
Now you're talking.
Now, as this continues to cook, that butter is going to melt all over that turkey. It's also going to help to make a sauce between the turkey juices and the butter in the bottom of the pan, and we're going to use that in a little bit. Now, if you wouldn't mind handing me that piece of foil.
Yep. So this is like butter smoked turkey.
Why didn't we think of that? So this is going to go back onto the colder side. Lid goes on. And now we're going to let this cook until the turkey registers 160 degrees, and that's going to take another 25 to 35 minutes.
Sounds good.
All right, so I think it's time to get the turkey off the grill. So I'm going to take it off the grill and carefully remove the foil. Now we are going to need that foil in just a minute, so we'll set it aside.
Ooh.
Turkey juices, butter, cayenne, black pepper.
A little smoke.
This and the smoke, of course. Let's check that temp, and we are looking for a temperature of about 160 degrees. Now, before we proceed with this, we want to go ahead and cover it up again with the foil. And we're going to let this rest for about 20 minutes, going to reabsorb some of those juices. So good, but for now, we can take it inside.
All right.
All right, so the turkey's still resting, has a few more minutes left. We're about to shred it, but in the meantime, let's make some sauce.
All right.
This is a cup of mayonnaise. Now this is a little bit tangy, a little bit spicy. So here's the tangy part. It's 1/3 cup of cider vinegar.
Ooh, that is taggy.
And we have a tablespoon of horseradish. Now some recipes had it in it, some didn't. We love that little bit of kick that it gives it. This has been drained. We have a 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt and a teaspoon of black pepper, a little kick. And if that's not enough, we have a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne.
Bam!
All right, let me whisk this together here. A couple more ingredients. We have a teaspoon of Worcestershire. It's going to get a little depth to our sauce. And 1 minced garlic clove. And that sauce is easy as that.
Nice.
The sauce is done, so let's move on to the turkey.
Ooh, sitting in that nice butter bath.
It's time to shred. So we're going to get them out of the pan. Oh, smell that smoky smokiness. All right, I'm going to set this pan aside just for a moment.
You're not getting rid of those juices though, are you?
Heck no, Julia. I'm getting 2 straws and we're going to town on that. I have you equipped over there with 2 forks. All right, so we're going to shred this into bite-sized pieces.
And it's nice, there's no skin because all the spices are right on the meat, so it's gonna stay there the whole time.
The meat looks great. Beautiful turkey. Now I have some of those pan juices. I saved a 1/2 cup. Just going to quickly bring that back together and pour it all over. That actually looks like pulled pork a little bit. It is so moist and juicy. All right, let's build some sandwiches.
Okay.
You're gonna need a bun.
All right.
Let me give you a little bit of the outer part where that spice rub is. Now, the sauce. And it kind of goes together. Think of a turkey sandwich. You'd put mayo on it, right?
Yeah, of course.
Now, speaking of shredding, we've got the shredded lettuce. I love that this is iceberg, so it's just clean and crispy. There you go.
Oh, that looks good.
All right, let's eat.
That is a good turkey sandwich. You can really taste the smoke, but the meat isn't dried out. In fact, you said it looks like pork earlier. It tastes as juicy as pork, but it has that delicate turkey flavor.
The meat is juicy, a little smoky. You get that crisp lettuce. Soft bun. It's got to go on a soft bun.
The white sauce, too, with that vinegar and the horseradish, plays perfectly with the turkey meat and the smoke.
It does. This is the way to eat turkey.
To make these killer turkey sandwiches, start by using boneless turkey breasts and salt them overnight. For flavor, spice the turkey with just a little black pepper and cayenne and add a packet of wood chips to the grill. Start the breasts right on the grill with the thickest part closest to the fire, then transfer them to a pan with butter to finish cooking. Make a white barbecue sauce with mayonnaise, then drizzle it over the shredded turkey on a soft roll. From Cook's Country, Tennessee pulled turkey sandwiches.
Looks like you have room for
You know me. You really know me. Love what you're watching? Take your cooking to the next level with our Essential membership. Get instant access to thousands of recipes, tips, techniques, product reviews, and step-by-step videos. Our members app allows you to search by ingredient, set dietary preferences, and save your favorite recipes. For those looking to level up, our newest feature, ATK Classes, offers more in-depth instruction led by ATK experts, so you can gain greater confidence in the kitchen. Start your free trial by visiting the App Store or going to americastestkitchen.com/YouTube today. Here at Cook's Country, we have every type of cooking equipment you can imagine. But I'd argue that the hardest working piece of equipment is the humble paper towel. And we go through over 3,800 rolls of this stuff every year. And Adam's here to tell us which one we should be buying at home.
You know, it's ironic, Julia, because I can buy any piece of cooking equipment or a small appliance with total confidence. But when I have to buy paper towels, I am like a deer in the headlights.
I'm with you.
Stare at the shelves. My brain starts to melt down. My arm reaches for whatever is on sale or sort of familiar. No thought whatsoever to performance.
Right. Sometimes I'm trying to analyze which is the cheapest price per sheet.
I'm just trying to get out of there before they put a straitjacket on me. But Cook's Country is going to save us both. We can get rid of our paper towel paralysis. Now, we took 12 different paper towels from 5 manufacturers. We included both full sheets and variable sheets. The price per roll was a low of 87 cents to a high of $2.49.
Okay.
And the testing was exhaustive. Testers used a single folded sheet to blot 4 steaks dry, checking to see whether any meat juices soaked through. They used triple layers of sheets to drain freshly fried bacon, check to see if any grease soaked through. They used full single sheets to scrub a measured amount of all-purpose cleaner off of 6 different surfaces: plastic, wood, granite, marble, and glass, and examined the towels for tears, lint, or excessive wetness on the surfaces or their own hands. However, a lot of these products bombed the test.
Really?
It was incredible. A lot of that had to do with the thickness of the paper towels. When testers measured the thickness of the sheets, they found a pretty significant difference. The thicker ones were about 0.4 millimeters, whereas the thinner ones were 0.2 millimeters. And that made a real difference in terms of absorbency. The thicker ones could hold about a 1/4 cup of water for a full sheet, whereas the thinner ones could only hold 2 tablespoons for a full sheet. It also made a difference in terms of the strength. The thicker ones could go across that rough plastic cutting board 300 times and still hadn't torn through to the second ply. So all of this relates to the number of plies. The thicker ones obviously had 2 plies bonded together. The thinner ones had just single plies. So the performance was clear-cut. The pricing was a lot less clear. A lot of these brands have a cheaper option that's billed as the budget alternative to their premium roll. Now, I want you to check this out. This is 2 of the same company's paper towels. Can you see the difference there?
I mean, I think I've bought these before. They're super squishy. It's like there's a lot of air in between each sheet, so you don't get a lot of
that one, so much nicer.
Yeah.
So testers found exactly the same thing. The manufacturers will deeply emboss those paper towels, and they'll wrap them loosely on the roll to give you the illusion of thickness and value. Of course, the testers counted the number of sheets on each roll, and they found that the budget alternatives usually had about 17% fewer sheets than the other ones.
Wow.
In the end, the paper towel that testers liked the best was the national top seller.
Bounty.
Bounty did the work. It's a great paper towel. It's 2-ply. It's super thick and absorbent. It's really strong for rough surfaces. It was the most expensive option that we had at $2.49 a roll. But if you calculate the cost per square foot, it's only about 7 cents per square foot.
Not bad.
It's really strong, so it's not that bad a deal. All of our testers were converts to the Bounty.
So there you have it. After all that testing, we determined that Bounty paper towels are the best at $2.49 a roll.
We'll get you right back to the video. Check out Cook's Country's newest book, The Complete Cook's Country TV Show Cookbook.
Over 16 seasons and more than 600 recipes are condensed into this cookbook, jam-packed with every recipe we feature on the show, plus stories, tips, and reviews.
Go on the road with Cook's Country and tour the U.S. through food. Get inspired by dishes from restaurants, regions, and chefs all over America.
All in this one convenient cookbook.
To order your copy of the Complete Cook's Country TV Show Cookbook, scan the QR code or visit cookscountry.com to continue your Cook's Country journey. Head down to Lenoir County, North Carolina, and you might hear a little lingo, something called throwing a fish stew. Now, it's a low-key gathering of friends and family, and it features big pots, cauldrons, even wash tubs full of a very, very different and yummy stew. But Bryan went down to Deep Run to find out more about what the stew's all about.
That's right, Bridget. I went down to Deep Run and I met up with Greg and Sandy Smith and Greg's father, Emmett, and together they threw a fish stew for me. It features 2 of North Carolina's premier products, seafood and pork.
It's like nirvana in the food world.
Couldn't have it any better. So right now we have 6 slices of thick cut bacon that I've cut into 1/2-inch pieces. We're gonna render that off until it's nice and crispy. And to that, we're going to add 2 thinly sliced onions. We have 1 onion done here, slice another onion. Okay, so we can add all these onions to the bacon.
Okay. You know, the best things in life, I think, start with rendered bacon and onion.
Oh yeah. All right, so we have 2 thinly sliced onions there, 1½ teaspoons of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. You know, in Deep Run, they didn't cook this in a regular Dutch oven. Emmett Smith found a big black iron kettle buried almost completely in a manure field when he was just a kid. But he clarified for me later that it was just a cow pasture, but I'm not so sure there's much of a difference. But he found that cauldron and he polished it back to brand new and usable with a brick and some sand. And now he estimates he's made over 500 stews in it today.
That brick, I guess, is #1 grit sandpaper, right?
Okay, Bridget, it's been about 5 minutes. You can smell how nice that is. And the onions are just softened. And to that, we're going to add 6 cups of water.
Okay. No chicken broth, no clam juice,
No, you know, we tried chicken broth and clam juice. We just felt like the fish contributes enough of its own flavor that we could just get away with water here.
All right.
To that water, we're gonna add 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste. We'll just give that a couple of stirs to dissolve. You also wanna scrape the bottom of the pot to get up any of that bacon fond and incorporate it into the stew.
That means flavor.
And to that, we're going to add 1 pound of red potatoes. And we're gonna leave the skin on these potatoes, but we're gonna give them a quick slice, about 1/4 inch thick.
It is a little similar to chowder in that potatoes are in there.
Yeah, it's like chowder, but 1,000 times better. So.
We have Manhattan on line 2 and Boston on line 3 for you, Bryan.
So we'll put these sliced potatoes in, 1 pound of the sliced red potatoes.
All right.
And then 1 bay leaf. So we're gonna bring this up to a boil, reduce the heat to medium, and let those potatoes go for about 10 minutes, because we wanna give them a head start on the fish and the other ingredients.
All right.
So now we can talk about fish. In Deep Run, they use a local fish called a rockfish, which is a type of bass, and they use rockfish steaks, which contain lots of bones. The bones are good and bad. So they're good in the sense that they contribute a lot of flavor and body to the stew, but they're bad in the sense, for me personally, because I like to shovel a lot of the stew in my mouth really quickly, and it promotes choking. So here in the test kitchen, we just opted for some boneless, skinless cod fillets. And you can use any type of whitefish fillets, but you want to make sure they're about 1 to 1½ inches thick.
Nice.
We want to maintain these big chunks of the fish in the stew.
Okay.
So we're just going to cut these crosswise in about 2-inch pieces. And we're just going to let those potatoes come to a boil and finish cooking for about 10 minutes, and we'll come back and add the fish.
Sounds good.
Okay, Bridget, it's been 10 minutes, and the potatoes have their head start. We can now add 1 teaspoon of Tabasco sauce.
A little bit of heat.
Got a little bit of a spicy kick to it between the red pepper flakes and the Tabasco.
That is looking beautiful already.
Okay, and that's the last time we're going to stir the stew, because now we're going to add the fish. So we have the cod fillets here, and we could just drop them into the stew.
So that's a lot of fish for this stew. That's great.
So now we just want to lightly push all those fillets underneath.
Fully submerged.
Right. And again, we're not stirring this anymore because we don't want to break up those fish fillets once they begin to cook.
And it's a nice gentle bubble too. It's not boiling at this
Right.
point.
Should be down at medium-low. And now here's where things get a little bit unusual
Breakfast.
in the fish stew realm. Yeah. We're going to crack 8 whole eggs into the stew.
Just right in there.
Just
Drop them
there.
right in.
Not hard-boiled eggs, but just eggs cracked right into the stew.
Now I have to ask you, so they think that the English settlers brought this over with them when they came to settle in the North Carolina coastal plains. Do you think they added eggs at that point?
You know what? I've heard that this was a great way to stretch a meal.
Okay.
So you had bacon from last winter. You had fish that just came up and knocked on your door. You had egg from the chicken. You know, everything goes into the pot to feed as many people as you can.
It is the definition of a locavore stew.
Yes, it is. All right, so we're going to crack them.
Want some help?
Sure.
All right.
I'll jump in on this side.
All right, just anywhere?
Yep. When I was down there in Deep Run, they brought out about 4 dozen eggs to crack into their stew. Still
How
a
big
lot
was
of
that
eggs.
pot that you were talking about?
It was a good 20-gallon pot.
Really?
At least, yeah.
That's a lot of fish stew. All right.
So-
No stirring?
No stirring at this point. So we're going to cover it and let the stew go for 20 minutes on medium-low. And at that point, the fish and the eggs will be perfectly cooked.
Now, you out there might be thinking, what am I watching? This is actually an amazing stew. I've eaten it before. I've actually never made it, but I have eaten it several times that Bryan's made, and it is outstanding. So please stick with us. It's going to be worth it.
All right, Bridget, it's been about 20 minutes. We could check the stew.
I see eggs. I see fish.
Oh, yeah, it looks good. So we should taste it for seasoning.
How's
Maybe
it doing?
a touch of salt, I think. And we're ready to portion out.
All right.
All right, so there's a piece of fish.
Beautiful. And it's still held together, so you're right. You didn't stir it, didn't fall apart.
That's right.
The aromas in here are amazing, too.
So when I was served this, we had saltine crackers and a fluffy white sandwich bread. I like the sandwich bread because it helps to sop up some of the juice.
I'm following your lead.
So you could dunk a little in there just to
All right,
give it a
fold.
sample.
That broth is magic.
Okay.
It's the tomato with that creamy egg yolk inside. It's kind of magic.
It's one of my favorite recipes of the last year.
It's so beautifully brothy, and it's really clean flavored, too. Actually, the broth tastes like the cod.
Get a little bit of the smokiness from the bacon.
You do.
God bless you, North Carolina.
A lot to love about that state. This is just one more thing. Now, this is the best stew that you have probably never eaten, and as all good things do, well, it starts with cooking onions in bacon fat. Add water, tomato paste, and sliced red potatoes and parboil. Season with Tabasco, nestle in large pieces of white fish, then crack eggs right into that stew. You cover and cook until the eggs are just set and serve as the locals do, with saltines or fluffy white sandwich bread. So from Cook's Country, a very authentic fish stew from North Carolina.
If you're ready to take your cooking to the next level, head over to americastestkitchen.com and get a free trial of our ATK Essential membership. While you're there, you can sign up for our free email newsletters and download our app. So, what are you waiting for?